All right. Test.
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 Crystal Hefner is coming out with a new book. She was the third and final wife of Hugh Hefner, who founded Playboy magazine. He met her as she was 21 years of age. They wed when she was 26, and I say that was in their final ages. He was 91 when he passed away in 2017. So a little bit of an age gap there. So she's coming out with a new book. Shocking news. You're hearing it first here on the Convincing Idiots podcast. According to Crystal Hefner, Hugh Hefner was very weird and controlling, and the whole place was just very odd and not unlike living in a prison at the Playboy Mansion. Shocking.
Yeah,
shocking news.
What is the name of her book? How to put ointment on the old guy's crevices?
It is called Only Say Good Things, Surviving Playboy and Finding Myself. I bet it is kind of a fascinating book, but it'll probably give you the creeps. I would think in many respects. So any interest to read this book?
I wouldn't say interest to read it necessarily. I'm not going to go that far, but maybe I should, because I was just thinking to myself while you're saying this. I'm like, you hear stories about this stuff every so often. But, there was the popular reality show in the early to mid 2000s with Holly and Kendra and whatever her name was. I forget what the Girls Next Door, was that what it was called? Or?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
that's right.
And it was a good show and everything, but then, come to find out later, each of them had things to say about Hefner, and Holly specifically had, all these issues with the way he was, being creepy, being what, and it's, I don't for a minute think that I'm putting any blame on these women, but it is one of those things to where it's like, I think from the outside looking in, we as spectators kind of, I don't know what you expect to have in common as an 80 to 90 something year old man.
I'm going to go live with the 80-year-old in his bathrobe.
Yeah, it's and I'm not saying that gives him clearance to be that way, but also
you should know what you're getting.
He's not drugging them and keeping them there against their will.
No,
they're free to go. Certainly their means of the lifestyle they've become accustomed to, that changes. But and again, I'm not blaming these women, but there is an element of these stories are not surprising. It's like you said, Brian, you let in and you were like, surprise, this girl says, that Hefner was weird and controlling and, whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's not cool. That's fucked up, man.
Right.
When are we going to stop glorifying this guy? I guess, you still see people walking around with, it's a cool thing to wear Playboy branded, apparel and stuff. And it's nutty. At what point do we kind of realize what the fuck all this was? I understand it's an iconic, brand, but we're celebrating something that I don't think it deserves.
They're celebrating the iconic brand, like you said, Nick, not the person or some of the functions. Sometimes you get a tattoo at 18 years old, and that was the cool thing to do.
That's right, you do have a
and sometimes you do it for the love of boobs. And the cultural.
Don't get me wrong. Playboy, was a full. They had consent from girls. It wasn't this, nefarious endeavor, right? And there was good articles in Playboy, and it was a gentleman's magazine. It was a good magazine. I'm not discounting that, but Playboy was Hugh Hefner, and Hugh Hefner was. That was his. To celebrate the brand is also to celebrate him. And I'm not talking about you at 18 getting a tattoo of, Playboy, but if you want to call it woke culture or whatever today, it is kind of funny that in a society where we are priding ourselves on, celebrating the right kinds of things, the right kinds of behaviors, that like PacSun, for example, like carries like Playboy branded things, and like people will wear like track pants with Playboy logos on them and stuff like that. And it's just kind of funny that it's like
you can still find the lighters.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just kind of funny that like there's certainly a creep element to it, being that the guy who made and ran it forever, it almost seems like for the sole purpose to get away with being creepy. Like we all celebrate this brand still because it's an iconic thing in pop culture, and it was, but also like it's not anymore. So like it's kind of weird, but. I don't know. I didn't mean to go off on a whole tangent about Playboy. It's just kind of funny. Like when I hear that, I'm like, I'm not surprised, and no one's surprised to hear like, oh yeah, obviously the 80-something-year-old man married to someone in their 20s was a little possessive and weird.
What do you think the weirdest thing he had them do, or had them watch him do?
It did say some things. He had a lot of videos and different things, and he destroyed them in the wake of the Pam and Tommy sex tape thing, so he had everything destroyed apparently, but it was probably all kinds.
There's like video of like his old weird 90-year-old dick just flopping about.
Yeah. It does say that he was taking pictures of people and he had them for potential blackmail and different things. So there's a lot of weird, stuff. But you're right. The brand was he created this whole fake lifestyle that he really helped create and really bought into. He kind of bought into his own fantasy, if you will, and just got
worked himself into a shoot. That's what he did.
Yeah, sure did. But you're right. Actually, it was a good magazine in all seriousness. It had naked women in it, but it wasn't smutty. It was very tasteful, and the articles and sports and everything, it was a solid magazine. I used to subscribe to it years ago, as did my dad. So, but he was
box full of old ones from like 1998 to 2002.
20. Whatever the last run was.
No, I stopped.
Can't open a one. Can't open a one of them. All completely glued shut, all of them, every one.
No, they're shut because they're stuck together.
That's what I'm saying.
That was the joke.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he meant like they were. I sealed them like Nick does his action figures. Won't even open the packaging.
No, and ruin the value? Are you insane?
Right. Mm-hmm. That's why come and shut the pages, not to ruin the value.
Never again for you, my dear. The last you see the light of day.
Zennial Dean, Gen X Brian. Millennial Nick, if you like what you saw, like and subscribe.
Ham gravy.
It's after dark.
The docile tones of convincing idiots.
How hard do you flick your hemorrhoids?
Yeah.
What, you don't want to talk about the sexiest parts of life? That's fine.
Gave me the willies.